This is a recipe that my dad made when I was a kid. We used to grow these back in Illinois, and Dad would make these. He'd chunk them up about this big of pieces and put them in a pan with some water, and you simmer them until they're tender, about 10 minutes, and then I'll show you what comes next. Why do I call this keto corn on the cob? Well, that's simple. That's not corn. It's not on a cob. But when I get done making this, I'll show you how to make it. I'll tell you what's in it. I'll give you the recipe in the description, and you'll find out that this tastes a lot like buttered corn on the cob when you get done with it. Much lower in calories than corn on the cob too. So let's get going. I already started this. I cut this up into 2 pieces. You really want small ones like this, but at Aldi you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. So you start out, you just wash the outside of them, of course. You cut the ends off of them. I like to cut them this way. It just makes it easier to handle. Right? And you cut them just like that, which is the same way you saw the other ones cut. And you cut them up into like chunks, about that size. And you put them in a pan. Okay, we got it filled up with chunks of squash. I'm going to go fill the pan with water enough to cover them, and then I'll show you what you put in. And now we got the pan filled with water, as you can see. One thing we're going to add is some salt. You want to be fairly generous with this. You'll find out why later. You want to put in enough, not too much. Now I got quite a bit in this pan, so, and this salt doesn't salt, it's not real salty salt. And pepper. Now this is, it said peppercorn medley, but I just refilled the grinder with black pepper. You want to put in a generous amount of black pepper, considering how much of it I'm making. I'm feeding a family, so it takes quite a bit. Now, you put that on, stir that in, of course. You want to mix the salt and the pepper down into the water, and you want to simmer this just until it's tender. Don't overdo it. You don't want to turn them to mush. Now, they're not as bad as zucchinis. They won't really turn into total mush unless you cook them for a real long time. But we'll put them on, we'll cook them till they're tender, and then I'll show you the secret to making keto corn on the cob. As you can see here, they've tendered up some. Now, what you do, that pink comes from the Himalayan salt. What you do now, the reason you put the seasoning in first, not only to soak it into them better, but also you're going to use that water, but only half of it. So you go drain off about half. Okay, what you do now is, now we're going to use half and half. You could use cream, heavy cream if you like, but half and half has half the carbs and half the fat. But half the carbs and still got plenty of fat. We used to use milk when I was a kid. But this will work wonders. Put some nice half and half in there. Just enough to cover them again. And a nice big dose of butter. Because what is corn on the cob without butter? Now I'm going to add more butter than that after we shut the camera off, but I have to go to the freezer. Now, you add a little more pepper if you like. I like a little more pepper on mine. Probably enough salt in it already. And then you just put it back on. You simmer. You bring it to a simmer for like 2 minutes, just enough to mix in the milk and the seasonings, and then you eat it. It's fantastic. Tastes just like corn on the cob. You won't be disappointed. It'll fill that craving. Thanks for watching. And here we are. Just took it off the stove after a good simmer. You see that it boiled a little bit, so it's got a little foam on top. But I put in most of a stick of butter for this much, and about a cup of half and half, just enough to cover it up. And like I said, I cooked it a little too long. I was busy doing something else, but that's just going to satisfy your craving for corn on the cob. That's really going to satisfy it. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Once again, thanks for watching. Please give me them thumbs ups, and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. And we'll keep making more.